My name is Clint McKay. I'm an enrolled member of the Dry Creek Rancheria Band of Pomo and Wappo Indians. I'm also the Indigenous Education Coordinator for Pepperwood Preserve, and I serve as the chair of the Native Advisory Council at Pepperwood. I was born and raised in Sonoma County. I have always lived within the traditional homelands of my people. Very, very fortunate and blessed and humbled to have been raised in a traditional home where my language was spoken, my culture and my traditions were carried on, ceremonies, dances, songs, ways of collecting and gathering traditional food, the stories. Unlike a lot of my brothers and sisters from other tribes that have experienced some severe disruption within their cultural continuity, I'm very blessed to have had several elders within my life, my Auntie Laura Summersall, my Auntie Mabel McKay, who continue to be instrumental in the transition of Indigenous ways of knowing. Right now we are on Pepperwood Preserve, which lies in the heart of the traditional territory of the Wappo people. And we are in Sonoma County, this land that is now nearly 3,000 acres. A preserve, if you will, is actually part of the homeland of my people and my tribe, in a place that we have gathered since time immemorial. We have hunted, we have camped, we have stayed here. And so it feels good for me anytime I have the opportunity to come and visit this land and walk the same trails and the same steps that my ancestors have walked since time immemorial. Pepperwood is a very special place for me and my family, because it's a place that we have been denied access to for decades. And for us to not only have the opportunity to come back and visit this place, but to have a seat at the table and a voice in the conversation for how this land is stewarded, and to have the opportunity to put back into place Indigenous land stewardship practices is critical, and it actually helps tie us back into our ancestors and let them know that we are carrying on the responsibilities that were left for this generation. The Native Advisory Council at Pepperwood is made up of members of the local Indigenous community. Not all members of the council are Indigenous to this area, but we are all Indigenous people that live and reside in this community. So at Pepperwood, the Native Advisory Council offers guidance and suggestion to Indigenous land stewardship ways to help care for this land. And we also offer guidance and suggestions into educational material that is shared with staff and with the public. The formation of the Native Advisory Council at Pepperwood came about, at least for me, in several requests for me to come and talk to Pepperwood staff about forming a Native Advisory Council. I was not very excited about the prospect when it started. I felt like this would be just another opportunity for an agency or an organization to use me as a token and use that to proclaim that they were meeting and that they were partnering with the Indigenous community, and I really was not interested in that at all. After countless requests, I did decide to come up and meet with them and talk with them, and it seemed like during our initial conversations that they had their heart was in a good place and that they really wanted Indigenous input. They weren't looking to just tokenize or show us off, but that they really did care and they wanted to know what we had to say and how we felt about this land and other people now caring for the land that our people have been responsible for generations. When we have an opening on the council or we make selections to add a position on the council, we look at several things. First of all, we want, if it's at all possible, somebody from the local community, and meaning somebody from the tribal communities of this area, if that's possible. We believe that our Indigenous ways of knowing teach us that we have an incredible sense of place. And so, although I can travel to different areas and feel quite comfortable and feel welcome there, this area is home to me. And so we try to find people that have that deep-rooted connection to this land. We do not do it by tribal entity. We do not have representatives from local tribes. We go with individuals that have that deep-rooted connection, that have knowledge and interest of this local area, and who have a desire to see our indigenous ways of knowing survive and thrive. So our Native Advisory Council is different than a board of directors, and that's why we have chosen to call ourselves a council and not a board. First of all, we are advisory, so we understand that because we want things to be a certain way doesn't mean that it's going to happen that way, and we don't have the authority to make those type of decisions. The other thing in the makeup of our council is we wanted it to be according to our indigenous ways of knowing. So one of the conversations we had early on with Pepperwood staff and leadership is that they wanted us to identify positions on our council, meaning they wanted a chair, a vice chair, a secretary, a treasurer, regular council members. And we understand that in our way and in our tradition, things aren't so spelled out that way. So because you're the leader or a captain, we call them in my tribe, doesn't mean that you make all the decisions. So we are a council, and we get input from everybody within our group and within our people, and we figure out together what's in our community's best interest and how we should move things forward. And we wanted to have that here. They call me the chair of the council, and I think that's only because when they're passing information back and forth, they want that point person. But I really don't act as like a chairman or an authority figure, not only for Pepperwood, but not even for the council. We all have equal input. We all have something to say, and it's important that we decide together as a unit, as a council, as a community, what we want to do and how we want to move forward. The council is presently updating our 5-year strategic goals. The top of the list for that includes a food sovereignty program. There might have been some small remnants of indigenous food and plants and things like that, but certainly not in the quantity that you would expect to see on a preserve. I went to the council, and the council approached Pepperwood staff, and they have embraced the idea wholeheartedly. The goal isn't to have representative plant communities. We're not looking to make a native plant garden. We're talking about helping sustain plant communities that are actually able to have my community come in and harvest from here and have it be sustainable at sustainable levels. What I try to tell Pepperwood is you can actually see something and you can be a part of something that hasn't happened on this land, I don't think, for anybody that's living today. And people look at me and go, what could that possibly be? And I'm saying we could see like fields of tarweed. We could see fields of wild potatoes that our people are out there actually harvesting as a community with our burden baskets, with our digging sticks, the way that our people always did it. And you can almost see that. I can see it. Hopefully they can see it. But when you look out across these meadows and across these hillsides, I'm able to see my people doing that in a way that's sustainable and makes us healthy, not only because we're returning to a healthy diet, it makes us physically more healthy. It makes us emotionally and spiritually more healthy to know that we're doing things the way our ancestors and the way Creator meant for us to do it. So for any organizations that are considering incorporating a Native Advisory Council, my first recommendation would be that you think about it long and hard. And if you ask people to come and join this type of committee, you're not asking them to simply share advice or share their knowledge. You're asking them to share of themselves and of their ancestors, of their ways that have been protected for many, many generations. And that doesn't happen so easily. And so I think you need to figure out if you really want to incorporate Indigenous ways of knowing into your organization or into your project. And secondly, you have to understand again that the people that are going to share with you are sharing literally themselves, not information that they read in a book, not something that they learned in school. This is something that they've learned through generations and generations of cultural continuity. The other thing you need to bring to the table is an incredible amount of patience, because for most Indigenous people, it's all about relationship. If our relationship is not built on mutual trust and respect, that relationship will not be meaningful and it will not be long-lasting. And so people think, oh yes, we've had a couple of meetings, I know you, you know me, now tell me everything you know. And it just doesn't work that way. You have to come to the Indigenous community and say, in the spirit of reciprocity. So if you're looking to get something from the Indigenous community, I wouldn't recommend a Native Advisory Council. If you're looking to share and give back and give Indigenous communities a seat at the table and a voice to be heard and the respect that has long been denied our people and our ancestors, if you're looking to make a difference there, I think a Native Advisory Council is the perfect way for you to do that.